Hey everyone, hopefully you're still there. I apologize for that. I'm gonna show you guys the mics that I was using so that you don't get those. So give me a second here. I also have to fix the camera. So hang on a second here. Yeah, that's a little better view. Try and get the wheel in there. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys the mics that I was using so that you don't get them. Hang on one second. I'm just trying to get a halfway decent shot here. All right. Go to Amazon, go to my orders and search. I think I remember the name. I think. Yep, here they are. So here they are. Crap. Why can't? Oh, Jesus. Why is everything such a struggle? So those are the ones. Do not get those. They are a company called Wewahiver, Wewahiver. And they look cool, and they have all of the stuff that you're looking for. It says a 40-hour battery life. It didn't make it an hour and 10 minutes. And it's been on charge for, what, 3 or 4 days? So, yeah, these are crap. Don't get them. Don't get those. Okay, so put our phone away, and we're on a different set of mics. These are a little more high quality, but they only had a 54% charge. So we're gonna hope they get us through the front. God damn it. If I had any more technical issues, I'd be the government. Jesus. All right, let's do the front caliper. Then, unfortunately, we don't have the same slide pin issue where we have to hammer everything. I need my other tools and my lube. So, since it's a whole new video, we'll kind of go over the tools again, and I'll try and explain some stuff. And I also want to show you guys the pads. So, no, those are for the rear. These are for the front. Look at these big old mamma jamma pieces of hardware. Our air brake pads. We have nice, happy brake pads here. These are our new brake pads. These are from Bosch. These are the blue. I don't know what their color version is. So we'll try. Oh, Spider Buddy dehydrated all the way. Sorry, man. Let's do it on top of the rotor. You guys can see the caliper okay from there? I know it's like super bright. Is that a little better? Yeah, that's less obnoxious right there. You can also tell that we're missing the transmission cover panel right here. You can see the holes. There should be a panel right there, but when they swapped the engine and transaxle out, they didn't put it back in. I also just noticed that the boot for the tie rod is all done. You guys you can't really see that over there. Anyway, so we'll go through some of the tools and some of the stuff we're going to do. We're going to do kind of the same thing that we did on the back, except that this one, we're going to raise the caliper up because we don't really have, I don't think we really have the distance to lay it down because we have our clip up here. So we're going to leave this one just loose, but we're going to take this whole one out. So when you're replacing slide pins, it's okay to take them all the way out. Oh, hang on. Just a switch. Okay, there we go. This, we're going to need to take things apart. We're going to need our 14, and we're going to use our 19 to hold the opposite side of the bolt. Now, that's on the inside of the caliper arm. The 14 is on the outside of the caliper arm. So, and you guys do this too. You're like, all right, that's tight, so it needs to come this way to go this. You guys do that? Am I the only one? So, oh, yeah. Okay. He's nice and loose already. That's a good thing. When he's finger tight. Now this one is a little different. He's actually going to be just a bolt, and then your slide pin is something different. So this guy is just going to be a bolt, but we want him in there because we're going to swing him up and out of the way. And this guy, oh, that deep creep worked really well. This bolt just walked right out. That's awesome. So we'll keep him handy. And then we're going to use our pry bar that we used on the back, just a 12-inch pry bar. And you can use this on both sides. You know, get him loose up top. You're obviously going to want to get him loose from the bottom because that's where he's going to pivot out. So even it out. There you go. And then once you can get your fingers in there, you can usually slide this guy up. And of course, your gloves catch on these clips. So these pads have been replaced, I can tell you that right now. So then slide this guy up, and he's pretty much going to stay there. You'll have to kind of keep an eye on him. You also have the option, if you want to, you can just crank this guy down. I'll try and do it where you can see it. And he should stay in that position, in theory. Maybe not. No, he's going to swing because he's still part of the bolt here. So we'll just loosen him up again, just so we have that wiggle room. So since this guy's up and out of the way, we now have access to the pads, and we can get our pads. I'm trying to get you guys kind of more of a angled shot with the pads and calipers. So you can see our hardware here, and this has all this weird stuff. I don't know what that's for. And then this has the little squealer down here. When it actually goes up against the rotor, and it makes this dreadful sound. It goes reep when you wear your pads down far enough. That's called a squealer. And sometimes they're on both pads, but here they're in here. So again, these guys just slide out. Oh, okay. Well, we have some bonus material here. I have no clue what that is. It's plastic or something. And these pads are import direct, which I believe is AutoZone. And there's a ton of material left. So these were replaced recently. We can keep them, again, like I do all the stuff in my shop. I'll keep them for a year. If I don't use them, they get pitched. So they're just for a backup. If something weird happens to the new ones, I'll have a backup. I don't get stuck, Sunday night at 11:30 with no brake pads. So same thing. This one has a ton of meat left on him. So we'll hang on to him. This rotor, wow. Yeah, he's got some corrosion. So these clips, The hardware clips, they come right out, supposedly, unless they're totally corroded in there. So there's our old hardware clip, and then we'll compare it to our new hardware clip. That's what they look like. Whoops, sorry, face them the right way. And you can see the new one doesn't have these tangs on the end. I don't know if they're totally necessary, but everything else is pretty much the same. So these guys are very flexible. They're super thin sheet metal, 22 gauge, whatever. And they're put in a press and they're formed. And it happens pretty much instantly. And do thousands of these a day. So they're very flexible. You can flex them. You guys can see how flexible those are. And that's how they go in. That's how they come out. All of that. In and out. So we have all of our stuff out. Now it's time to brush this stuff. And again, the stuff that's in here is either rust, which is not good for you, or it's the combination of whatever the brake pad material is. Normally, companies use asbestos, and pretty much everything in here causes cancer or brain damage or autism or priapism or whatever. You don't want any of this. Well, I don't know. Priapism doesn't sound so bad. You don't want any of this stuff in your system. So whenever I'm brushing stuff, I always blow away, just kind of send it towards the bottom of the car. Don't let me ingest it. You can wear a mask if you want. No one's going to. Are you serious? You can't hear me? There's no way you can't hear me. Oh, okay. LOL, just Jesus, dude. Last thing I need. I have enough tech struggles between YouTube, the laptop, and the cameras and mics. And doing this literally all by myself, I have enough tech struggles. I don't need jokes, man. Jesus. Jesus Christ. That's okay though. I'll take it this time. So all the stuff that you brush out of here is going to be bad for you. Blow it away from you. I should probably start high, work my way low. But we're getting the rust, the corrosion, the dirt and stuff out of the grooves where the hardware goes. We're also going to clean up the backside of these caliper pads right here. The backside of this, the backside of this. And we're also going to clean up here and get rid of whatever. I don't know how the hell shit gets inside the piston, but clean that stuff out too. And then we can brush off the rest of the outside of the caliper. You guys see that dust? That's all like brake dust. That's, you know, or rust or whatever. And it gets baked onto this because everything gets so hot. Did you see Cleet's new video of the garage sale with all his cars? I didn't watch the video. I saw a few pictures from it. It looked like a ton of fun. It looked like folks had a good time. So let me get the rest of this stuff brushed. I have to kind of be in the way here, and I apologize for that. See how that crap just comes out of there? You want to be careful of rubber seals, things like that, braided lines or brake lines. This stuff can puncture it, but it's a brass brush, so it's pretty soft and it'll usually fold out of the way. But it's great for removing crap. This is the really bad spot, is inside the top of the caliper. I'm not putting a ton of pressure on this brush. I'm kind of letting it do the work. It's pretty gnarly, so it does a really good job by itself. If I was working like an Alaskan pipeline or something, I'd probably need to use a lot more pressure. And be careful of your own hands, because This brass will puncture your skin very easily. So yeah, there's just a ton of garbage on here. Can you guys see that? Hopefully you guys can. Yeah, you can see the dust. So yeah, blow that shit away from yourself. And then next one, and I'll have to move the light for this. We'll do the same thing that we did on the other one with just getting rid of this edge, the corrosion on this edge of the rotor. I just use the edge of the pry bar and just do a couple of laps to take this. This is all cast iron, so it corrodes almost immediately. So you just hold this and give it a few spins. It gets all the big chunks and crap off there. It's kind of a cheap lathe. I guess it also counts as weight reduction, right? Again, blow this shit away from me. Also, one difference, these are vented rotors in the front, and we have solid rotors in the back. It's a solid piece. There's no internal venting. It's a little bit thinner too, because most of your braking, about 80 to 90% of your braking is going to be done up front. Yes, the pry bar is on the outer edge right there. And I'm barely putting any pressure right here and scraping off all the stuff on the outside edge. It's quick, simple. Again, we're using all simple tools here. So it just helps a little bit. On some vehicles, it's really bad. The corrosion's really thick and can also upset balance and stuff. So it's nice. Just have a quick little pry bar session. It doesn't take much. Pry bars, you know, and they don't care. They have a pretty sharp edge, so they're fine with it. So next up, we didn't have to do anything with the slide pins because you can check these guys and see how he slides in and out, and you can feel the lube in there too. And you can do the same thing with this guy. He slides in and out very easy. So this guy slides okay. Next up, we're going to use our caliper compressor and our piston compressor. He goes in like this, and you just ratchet him, and he slowly spreads out and pushes the piston back into the caliper. You can also use a pry bar if you want. On single piston calipers like this, you can use a pry bar. You can also use a C-clamp on the back. There's a lot of options. This one I like. It's pretty good. And then I have the big pads that magnetize on here for doing multi-piston calipers. So, and also this one's kind of nice because you can just unthread them a little bit. You don't have to sit there and crank forever. You can at least get them close. I actually don't know. If he'll go wide enough. Oh yeah, I think. So now he has tension on him. He's pressing here, or he's holding here, and he's pressing on that piston, pushing that piston in, and you'll feel a mechanical stop. When this plate reaches the edge of the caliper, that means your piston is all the way in. And I can hear the brake fluid up there. Yes, these brakes, the brakes look like they're in good shape overall. They are. Except for the slide pins in the back, but also they've been neglected. They haven't been touched in years. So it's no surprise, right? But other than that, there you go. Now our piston is all the way back in. And then we can thread this guy. Just one side comes out usually. And There we go. We're done with that guy. So we can put that tool away. Next up, we're going to do all of our lube. Remember, we're going to lube this on the piston. We're not going to lube up our pads. A lot of guys will lube up the whole back of the pad. Don't do that, because when you put the pad in here, this whole area is all exposed and it's just going to collect dirt, and that's not good. So you want to put lube where the pad connects with the caliper, on the inside here and on the ring of the piston, or I guess the outside edge of the piston. That's it. There's no reason to slather everything on. There really isn't. So, and this is just me. This is my little technique, or whatever you want to call it, twitch or whatever. I use an acid brush from the craft store, and it's in my can of Molly lube. And I will lube up where the hardware mounts on the caliper, on the outside part of the caliper. And this is basically just for protection. This is no mechanical advantage or anything. It is just for protection. Where the hardware sits, the pad guide just gets literally a touch of lube. That's it. The bottom two, right, where it meets the metal tab. The bottom two, what? I'm not sure what you're describing, Truss. I'm going to have to move a little bit so I can see this. I'm going to have to move the light so I can see this. And again, this is not syrup on your pancakes. This is basically covering the metal in a very thin protective layer of really nice heavy duty high temp grease. Will also help get these sons of bitches out when you want to take them out the next time. So the hardware clips only go in one way. Obviously you can't put them in this way. It doesn't work. If you try and do them down like that, it doesn't work. They only go in one way. And they press in the front, press down at the back. And again, these guys flex. So this is so much easier when I can see on this side, but I can't put my head there because then you guys can't see anything. So I apologize. So we get those guys seated as best we can. The brake pads will help seat them any further. Now this guy does have those big things. We had them up top, so we're going to put them up top on this side as well. I don't know what they're for, but they're going back on. And again, it'd be nice to be able to move my head over there, but I can't. So cool. Now, we're also going to lube up the hardware here, and we're going to lube up the backs there and this. So lube up the hardware first. Again, this is maybe 5% more than what we put underneath it. This is more for functionality than for protection. So this is really hard to do. I'm just going to get it done quick. And that way my head is out of your guys' way. And you can see the rest of the stuff I'm doing. I'm trying to be careful with this because I don't want to slop it all over the rotor and all over other components. Okay. So have that on there. Now we're good. For our pads, both of these pads have squealers on them. I don't know why. All the pads came with squealers, so I don't know why. That's this little tab right here that's riveted onto the backing plate. This is called the pad material. This is called the backing plate. This is called the squealer. This is called the anti-rattle shim, or just the shim, brake pad shim. So on these guys, we're going to do, again, just our backup lube on the little nubs, just on the nubs on 3 sides. I guess 4 sides. You can kind of do the faces there too. Just over this edge, top and bottom, we're going to add just a nice smooth coating of lube. Again, you want to keep it away from the brake pad material, although it doesn't really hurt because the pad material is going to melt it away. It gets so hot. Don't believe me? Watch 24 Hours of Daytona about 2:30 in the morning when they show everyone's brakes light up. Holy smokes. Those things are getting hot. Whoa. That's way too much. So it really doesn't take much. And once these guys are in place, you know, they'll wear into position. Does that make sense? Trying to phrase that correctly. So our lube and our squealer. And remember, we're going to put these in the right position. And again, I got to borrow the light and make sure I get lined up back here. Oh, come on. This is so hard to do, like going over and up. So I'm just gonna, I'm sorry, I'm trying to be polite with you guys. I'm trying to show you everything. But sometimes of course, why would you stay there? Oh, come on. There he goes in the top, but it doesn't go in the bottom. I honestly can't see jack down here. Okay. Oh, yeah, you should just fall over. Oh, shit. He stayed in place. Okay. Balance on one arm and come back up. Yeah, I would turn the wheel to show more of the back, but it's basically the same as the front. So that's why I haven't. Now this guy won't go in down here. And I think it's because of the squealer. He's just really tight in there. Okay. There. Maybe. He went. No, he didn't. There. No. Jesus Christ. It's a balancing act here. There we go. There we go. What a crazy thing. All right. Need to grab a paper towel quick. The back is basically the same as the front. So I'm only doing the back because it's part of the whole process. It's just a little more difficult to see because when I'm doing it with you guys right here, normally I would be right here, and that serves no purpose for you guys. So that's why it's just better to show you from the front side here. So, and I'm also trying not to blind you and actually give you a halfway decent shot here. So, okay, that side's in. Also, the first one you put in is always the most difficult because the hardware probably might not be completely seated, and you have to use the pad itself to fully seat it. So we're going to add our lube again to the edge of this. If we get it on the outside, it's okay. We just don't want it on the brake pad material itself. I'm going to keep it on that backing plate. That is by far the most important part. So normally when I do this, I'll do the bottom first and then slide it into the top. But sometimes this hardware is seated better and you do it from the bottom. It's kind of a 50-50 thing. So let's see where that guy is. So he's seated in the bottom, and then help the hardware. This guy isn't fully seated in there, so maybe we start him up top first, and then do him in the bottom. That sounded bad too. Yeah, that guy just wants to pop up out of there. And all right, let's go at the angle here. There we go. There we go. Okay. We have our pads back in place. These are very tight. These actually tighten up the calipers or the pads. So like they kind of, I don't want to say they float in there, but it also makes it so you don't just grind on them the whole time. So it's a very, very tight fit. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to lube up the surface on the piston where it contacts the pads. Again, you don't want to overdo it, but if you get it on the seals, that's probably okay. Just try not to do any excess. And then we're going to do it on the inside of these because that's our only contact surface with the pad. So that's all we really want to do. And again, this is not syrup on your pancakes. This is butter on your waffles. You don't want, you're not trying to douse it. You just want a nice thin coating of lube. It doesn't need to be slathered on there. No, I'm saying so it'd be easier for you to work on. Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I could probably do that, but I want to show you guys this side. And with my luck, as soon as I start to turn the wheel, clink, it will lock up. So, well, a lot of people don't grease the piston. They will just leave it. And one of the problems is then the pad, you can see the imprint here on this guy. He'll stick, the piston will stick to this. And, or you'll get galling, you'll get different kinds of corrosion, and it can destroy this plate. It's a little bit of protection to make sure that stuff works correctly. And sometimes, you know, I don't know. It's just one of those things that I've always done to help keep parts lubricated, keep them moving, and then, you know, if necessary, we clean it up later. But what I always hated was I'd see this and it would just be packed full of, you know, when the pad's in there, this whole center section would just be packed full of dirt and grime and grossness. totally unnecessarily because it was just loaded up with lube. So we're good on the pins. We're good on the lube. Our pads are back in place. Our pistons all the way back down. We are going to slide this guy right back into place. And we're going to tighten all these guys to 25 foot-pounds. Now, you should also Loctite these. Blue Loctite is definitely preferred. And there is no Loctite on these. So I got to double check with Nissan specs to see if they want them Loctited. But generally, I would say 90% of the time, you're going to want to Loctite those. So since we had such a gnarly tech failure, we're just going to make this nice and quick. Put this guy back in place. I am going to use this to clean up our surface here. I'm just going to rotate this, get any stray grease off of here on both sides. There we go. And we can also use brake clean if we really want to, but we're actually in pretty good shape with this. So last thing, and again, I'm going to take the bitch mittens off. Because I don't want to get my wrench all jacked up. I have a nice torque wrench. I don't want to. This is what I was trying to say at the end of the other video. We are set to 25 foot-pounds. So we're going to make sure we're going tight. There's nothing more embarrassing than that. Of course, we have almost no movement that way. We're going to have to use it. I don't think I have any more movement. I guess I do. There we go. Try not to block it for you guys. So, yep. Double down on that guy. And then we'll come down to this. We have to be careful not to reset our torque setting. Put it at like 140. Oh, that's really close. All right, and there we go. We're at 25. Our brakes are done. They're ready to be bedded. I should probably do a live stream on bedding brakes, and this would actually be a good car to do that on. Problem is I don't have plates and insurance, so I can't really take it out on the road. Like today, I had to go get a 5-gallon gas can to check that coolant leak thing. So, or fill up my 5-gallon gas can. Yeah. So, oh yeah, that was the other thing. I need to make sure. This guy will normally torque out, but you want to make sure that he torqued with the 19. Yeah, so that 19 didn't move. And I just want to make sure these guys didn't move. He actually wouldn't torque if he didn't catch. So yeah, those guys both torqued out. Bedding brakes is something totally different. And yeah, Loctite, blue Loctite, you don't want these backing out. If these back out, your caliper falls off, bad shit happens. So you don't want these backing out. And we usually use blue Loctite. It works best with heat. So unless you get into like some crazy stuff like black Loctite and stuff like that. But we're not trying to chemically weld carbon fiber, so we're not using black Loctite. So that's it. Like I said, we're gonna hang on to these old pads. I don't like touching the pad material. We're gonna hang on to this set for 1 year. So top of the year, next year, or they'll go with the car. I'm just gonna show you. We're going to hang on to these guys because there's a ton of meat left on them. If we need them, if we have a problem with these, then we have a backup. These are the Bosch pads that I got for the front. And then I'll show you the box for the rear. These are the Bosch Blue. So these are not full blast race pads. These are just heavy duty, high performance pads, which is exactly what we want for this car. They're not terribly expensive. They're pretty reasonably priced. And here is the part number for the rear. And these guys come with the hardware kits, both of them. Some places don't show you that. So I honestly don't remember the prices, but they're on Amazon. They're pretty damn cheap. So this is ready for, obviously we're going to take the old fluid out, put new fluid in. And if you do this, you want to bed the pads. I'll probably do a live either with the Miata or with the Viper, and I'll show you how to bed pads. It's really important for the longevity of the pads, but it's also way more important for stopping power. If you don't bed the pads, they don't bite onto the rotor as well as if you did. That's probably the easiest way to explain it. There's a guy out there named David Zeckhausen. I hope he's still with us because he's one of the most awesome brake pad guys, brakes in general guys out there. And that guy taught me a ton about brakes. So Zeckhausen they did have a really nice description of how to bed pads. And I usually follow that procedure. Bed, B-E-D, like what you sleep in. Bed the pads. The pads are sleeping in the rotor. How's that? Bend. Now, if you want a really good one, you said bend the pad. I got a crazy one for you guys. Hang on, let me bring you back up here so I'm not destroying my knees anymore. We're still looking at the car. We're still with the car. Look, it's fine. But I'm not destroying my knees anymore. Where do we go? So you guys want a crazy bend the pad story. It's actually not the pad that got bent. It's the backing plate that got bent. What the hell is with the light? Is that weird? Yeah. All right. So, the section here that the pad material is attached to is called the backing plate. It's the backing plate. This is your damper plate. There's a bunch of different names for this plate. Silencer plate, all this other stuff. But this is your backing plate. And usually this is very high temperature steel. And it's about 1/4 inch thick. You can measure it if you really want. It's a pretty normal sized pad. And this is originally on my SRT4 on the factory built race car. It had pads very similar to this, calipers very similar to this. And John Fernandez was racing the car so hard. Carbotech was making pads for them, which was really cool. They were doing special compounds. But the problem was they were just eating away rotors because John was an incredible driver, drove very fierce, very hard, and he was going through hardcore pads and just eating rotors away because he had these gnarly pads on there with this incredible compound. But I was fortunate enough to talk to, I was at a NASA event or is it SCCA? I think it was a NASA event at Mid-Ohio. And this gentleman had seen my car and he came over and introduced himself, and he turned out to be the CEO of Carbotech. He was there, visiting other racers and drivers and stuff. And he's like, I haven't seen this car in, ages. It's really cool to see it out on track. And I'm like, oh, wow, this car? And he told me how his company made pads for John Fernandez's car and for Toby Grahovic's car. And I was like, oh, wow, that's great. And I still have the Carbotech sticker on the car. I run Carbotech pads in the Viper, in the Miata. So I love Carbotech stuff. It's always been great. But he told me about how they had made these custom pads for John's car, and that John had driven the car so hard at several different races that he actually warped the backing plate. It got so hot that he actually he bent the backing plate. To me, that's unbelievable braking. I mean, to bend one of these is really hard to do. You would need a serious hydraulic press to bend one of these. That's a hydraulic system. So the heat that he was producing and the amount of hydraulic pressure, he would actually bend these pads back. That's incredible. That I've never heard of that before. That was the first time I ever heard. That was the first time the CEO of Carbotech had seen it either. He's like, we can't believe it. You know, the pad material was actually breaking because the backing plate was flexing. So, I mean, it's pretty incredible. It's actually really incredible. But that also is a really good testament to how amazing a driver that John Fernandez was, that he could hammer that hard, right? So, and it was a good testament because those were factory Dodge calipers that were on that car. So those things stood up to his braking style, if you want to call it that. And he, you know, those guys made the necessary changes. I think he told me that he made slightly thicker backing plates for his car. And then eventually my car ended up with StopTech ST40s, these big, huge two-piece rotors. So he was surprised to see that the StopTech stuff was on there. I was like, well, this is kind of what the car came with, but I still run Carbotech pads. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. So very nice contact too. I really like that guy. He was a very nice guy. I think I still have his email too. Yeah, trust. It was something like that. It was the pad material was going away very quickly, and then as the pad material goes away, the heat transfers into that backing plate, and then the backing plate starts to fold over. So you have a little while where the backing plate can hang on, but when you're pushing that hard and you're grinding that much material away from the pad, the backing plate has to take that heat. When it gets that heat, it's flexing. That piston's pushing from the backside, and he's hammering on the brakes. If you watch any of his races on the old Speed Vision, you watch, it's like, oh my God. I thought I went into turns deep. He was going deep into, Thunder Valley. He was going deep into the carousel. He was going deep into Keyhole. I mean, he was hammering that car. But also, he had access to a complete factory. Why not, right? Go beat the shit out of it. If you got, you know, $1 million budget and a whole factory waiting for you, absolutely. Beat it up. But yeah, super awesome guy. His son is super cool. And I got to talk to his son after I bought the car. I talked to his son. John's totally retired now. He drinks mojitos on the beach. He's all done with the car world. But he was happy to see that my car, the SRT4, his former car, is back out on track and doing fun stuff and instructing people and all that. He was pretty jazzed about it. So it was pretty cool. These are our rear pads. This is our rear hardware. This stuff is going in the bucket. We are done with it. I don't know what this weird stuff is. It looks like plastic, like burnt electrical tape. But yeah, we're all done with these. Bye-bye. Those rear pads, I don't know. There's 185,000 miles on this car. So I don't know if they're original pads. Probably not. but they're pretty bad. I have to wash my hands. This is just gross. Give me a second here. Oh, so much better. So yeah, it is possible to bend backing plates, but what I was talking about was bedding pads. And bedding pads means you're seating the pad onto the caliper so that as it rotates, it lines up perfect every time. And there's a whole process to that. Like I said, if you want to check out Zeckhausen's site, I'm sure the process is still up there in print. But what I'll do is I'll do a how to bed pads either in the Viper or in the Miata and show you guys that it's a pretty quick and easy process. It's pretty simple. It takes 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but it'll last you the life of the pads. Less squeaking, better braking. You can't really stop dust, but especially on race pads, they're so filthy. Race pads will absolutely, I mean, all of my cars, the Viper with the XP20s on it, I can go 2 miles before my wheels are completely covered in brake dust. They're just filthy. And then you have other stuff like, God, what's their other 1620s? I think the 1620s are a little less dusty, but Carbotech basically makes really, really kick-ass pads that are good for racing. They don't have a super clean light duty pad. Most of their stuff is pretty hardcore. If you want that stuff, you can go like EDC Yellows or, Bosch makes really great pads. And who else? Hawk makes some really good pads. They make a good lineup of hardcore race, really dirty, and kind of street use and super clean. So you can find manufacturers out there that do kind of a wider range. Carbotech, I would say they're on the upper end, hardcore racing down to middle clean. But I don't mind. I got a power washer. I'm okay with it. So that's it. We have all new pads on the Altima, front and rear on both sides. You guys got a little show on the rear for the mic stud on how those slide pins work on the rear and why it's important for them to slide in and out, and how to take them out if they get stuck. Just a little hammer and punch, rotate, hammer and punch, rotate. Eventually they'll come out, but lube them up, clean them off, lube them up, and it should just be a nice slide back and forth. If you have a little pressure in there, a little air pressure, that's fine. That'll eventually work its way out, but make sure those are lubricated and they slide super smooth in and out of the caliper. The same thing with the ones up front. They're a little different style, but it's the same thing. And if they're not sliding, take them apart, take the boot off, lube on there, put them back together, put the boot back on, and you'll be good to go for another, whole set of pads. Anytime you're replacing pads, do all this regular maintenance. Check the slide pins, check that the bolts are okay, check the rotors, thickness and all that stuff. Thankfully, these rotors are nice and thick. I'm thinking whenever they did the rear brake pads, they put on all new rotors. So, or they just didn't break a lot, but we're getting a lot closer. I redid the list. I just kind of rewrote it so you guys can see, because the wipers took away a lot of it. So we're knocking stuff out. So let's see, what did we get tonight? I'm just going to check off. I'm going to check off by the brakes. We're going to do new pads. And last couple of things to do is we need to check the parking brake, make sure it's working properly. And because the handle pulls way up. We also have the new fluid, which just arrived, I think it was yesterday. So I'll get a helper over here to help me pump all that old fluid out and pump all the new fluid in. I'll see if Jackson's available. He might come over. And then exhaust delete, as per the rules, I need to double check with Freedom Factory on what is allowed, how far I can delete the exhaust. And then the coolant, we need to check the level, and I need to repair that leak. So with any good fortune, that leak is repaired, and then we'll check the level when we're all done. The other thing I did add on here, where was it? I guess I didn't put it back on here. Valve cleaner. Oh yeah, steering and power steering, and check the level. And we added some power steering fluid to the milk chocolate that is currently in there. When the car comes back from the race, we'll redo the power steering fluid. It is not super crucial to performance. So lots of stuff getting done on the car. Very close. We've got about, what, 2 weeks before the race? And going back to Naples tomorrow to pick up the trailer. We had a little emergency that the trailer needed to get used. So I'm going back to Naples tomorrow morning to pick up the trailer. So we'll have the trailer back here. And then one of the very last things we'll do is livery the car. We'll number it, get the trunk repainted. We'll finish taking off the rest of this crap Plastidip. And it'll be probably just a couple days before the race when we do the actual numbers on the car and all that. So very good progress. I'm very happy so far. The only question mark is that pinhole leak, but I think I have it taken care of. So we'll test more tonight, and we'll test more tomorrow. And with any good fortune, we get the brakes done tomorrow. All the new fluid in there. So we got, by the way, here's the, in case you guys are wondering, it's the only brake fluid I use. Motul 600. There's the 660. The reason I use the 600, it has a higher low boiling point than the 660. So this is, I don't know if they have it on here. Oh, they do. Minimum wet boiling, 383. And minimum dry boiling is 572. So, yeah, there's one of these is higher. I think it's the wet boiling is higher on this. The minimum wet boiling is higher on this than it is on the 660. And that's why I went with the 660. If you go with the 660, it's also great. But this, for endurance racing, is absolutely the way to go. There's other great stuff out there. This is what I use. This has worked for me. I use it in all of my vehicles, my daily, the truck, the Miata, everything has Motul 600. I use the same stuff in all of it. It makes it very simple when you're doing clutch, brake, whatever. It's great for clutch systems too. So highly recommended. Definitely do your research, but I can tell you guys this stuff works. So we'll talk a little more about wet boiling point and dry boiling point and that stuff when we do the clutch bleeding and new brake fluid in here. I'll go into a little bit more detail when you. It's kind of hard to explain. It's a lot of chemistry and a lot of pressure and a lot of heat. So we'll go into more detail about that. But finding what works for your style of driving and what you're trying to do. Are you drifting? Are you trophy trucking? Are you doing other stuff? Find the right fluid. I mean, you can spend, is it $100 a pint or something? $120 a pint for endless. That stuff's incredible. That stuff is absolutely awesome. Castrol SRF is awesome fluid too. There's a lot of different stuff out there that really works well. I love the Motul. I've been using it for a decade, probably more. It gets the job done in all of my vehicles. So no complaints there. Also, no sponsorship from Motul. Thank you for that. Yes. One of these days, someone's going to call up, and more than likely, it's going to be Dude Wipes, right? They're like, dude, we want to sponsor your car. Okay, great. Do I have to have a little poop on top of my car too? Is that part of the deal? So, yeah, kicking ass on the Altima. And also, once the little sprinkle thing is done with the coolant, we'll get the front fascia back on. The reason the headlight was down was simply because the front fascia was not put back on correctly. And so it dragged, it actually pulled the headlight down underneath the fender. That's the only reason. They just didn't have it mounted up correctly. So I don't know if you guys can see it. I have it. It looks actually very funny. The front fascia is right at the front of the Viper. It looks, I don't know. Can you guys see it over there? It looks really funny because it looks like an extension on the Viper's nose. Like you add like a looks. It actually looks like a Jetta. You added a little nose cone on the front. So we'll get the front fascia back on here, and then, like I said, last thing will be paint and numbers, and then we're ready to go. Load it on the trailer, get it up to Freedom Factory, race on the 17th. Hopefully you guys will either be there in person or you'll watch, and they live stream it on Freedom Plus. And I'm sure there'll be tons of video after the race too. I will do my best to live stream. I want to double check to make sure it's okay with the rules. I don't want to step on anyone's, this is their fun event. I don't want to screw it up for myself by doing something dumb. So I want to make sure it's okay with them. And if I can live stream it, it'll be up on here. And I'll have a mic on, and you guys will be able to hear me and hear all the chaos. So I will try and live stream it from here. That's my hope. If they okay it, then I'm going to do it. So I appreciate you all hanging out tonight. I know it's Friday night. You guys have way cooler stuff to do, and burnouts and car meets and other cool shop stuff. So hopefully you enjoyed it here. And again, I apologize for the audio. I showed you guys which mics not to buy. I'm just going to put them in the garbage, so I don't have any more use for them. And well, I'll let the battery die and then put them in the garbage. So we'll keep trying to find equipment that works properly. And since I'm a one-man operation, I got to make sure it works every single time. So thank you guys very much for hanging out tonight. I really appreciate it. All the new subscribers, hopefully you guys are liking this. And if you have any questions, comments, whatever, definitely put them down there. Shoot me a text, shoot me an email. I'm happy to answer any of the questions. If there's a car, excuse me, as I choke on my own spit. If there's a car you want to see in here, let me know, and I'll talk with my friends and see if we can get it down here. We also, after the Altima, we'll have the limo back in here. We'll be doing a lot of stuff on that to get that car finished up and ready for spring, summer, burnouts, strip clubs, whatever. And that's about it for tonight. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. And don't forget to show someone that you love them today. Give them a kiss on the cheek. Give them a kiss on the tip of their nose. Hold their hand. Give it a squeeze. It's really important for them, but it is far more important for you. All right. Thanks, everyone. I will catch you. We'll catch you later on this weekend. We'll see how the rest of the stuff goes. All right. Have an awesome night. Thanks, everyone. Kind of looks like a race car. Who am I kidding?